they weren't really writing Latin characters the way I experienced it or saw them in real life, how three-dimensional and brilliant Latin people are in real life. And I just wasn't seeing that in film, so I wanted to give it the full representation. Super Mario Bros. I played Game Boy, so I love my Super Mario Bros. I was pretty good at it. You know, I'm a little younger than Bob was at the time, so yeah, you know, it just makes sense. He was like, oh, I won an Oscar, and now I'm playing a video game. Where's my life going? You know, I couldn't understand him really most of the time, unless I was drinking, and then I thought I could understand him.
Name? Mario. Last name? Mario. Okay, what's your name?
Luigi.
Luigi?
No, Luigi Mario.
Okay, how many Marios are there between the two of you?
There's three. There's Mario, and Luigi Mario.
I try to give him a little, like, you know, what kids were looking like in Brooklyn, you know, with the backwards baseball cap, clothes a little baggy and whatnot, like what everybody was dressing. I wanted to appeal to young kids, you know, instead of like two old guys. So I was kind of naive. I was in love with the princess and whatnot. And then, you know, Bob was the older protective brother.
Why did you do that to me?
No. Not now. What single-cell organism did you evolve from?
The directors who created Max Headroom, and they were the biggest commercial directors of the era. They had this dark vision that Disney was not okay with. So there was all this butt heading that was incredible. I mean, that party scene, those are all strippers from North Carolina that they put on the set, and they had them like in the most revealing clothes and costumes. And then they had to, like, Disney was not happy. They had to cut a lot of it out, blow it out, CGI it with whatever bad technology they had back in the day. You know, but I love those directors. And I mean, they gave me an opportunity. I mean, they stuck their neck out to put a Latin guy as the lead, to play Bob Hoskins' brother. I mean, that was unheard of at the time. It was so innovative, and I was so grateful to them for that.
Hey, Lamar, did you see that?
What?
He's trying to communicate.
Luigi, it's a mushroom. Come on.
To be honest, the movie was not received as well as we had hoped. I mean, you always hope for the best. You don't go into a movie going, boy, I can't wait till this bombs. We all had big hopes for it, but you know, it didn't. It was the first video game of the era of all time that nobody was prepared for that. So it did okay, but then kids fell in love with it and found it, you know, on DVD, on VHS. And a lot of people come up to me and they go, they love it. So, you know, through their eyes, I love it. Carlito's Way.
Something wrong with the check?
Yeah, there's something Benny. Fucking wrong with the check. Baby, come on, show it.
Mira. Benny.
What, man? Oh, shit.
Oh, fuck. Oh, shit, man. Oh, man, I'm sorry, Mr. Vidal. I'm sorry, Mr. Vidal. I got no problem. No problem. You see, Batman Sasso over there owes me some money, and he's a little slow in paying me, so I'm just working off for him, you know? We haven't formally introduced, you know. My name is Benny Blanco from the Bronx.
I'm a Latin guy, and I didn't want to play another drug dealer. I was just kind of sick of that kind of routine. And so I turned it down 3 times. And then the producer said, look, this is the last time I'm coming to you. We're going to go to Benicio. Okay, I'll take it. So I took it. And then I did a lot of research. I hung out with a lot of drug dealers in the LES. And I was crazy because I thought I had celebrity immunity. And then I realized nobody's going to care about it when they shoot them up. One of the guys I was running with, his brother got shot. I'm glad I had left because, yeah, I would have got shot too.
Hey, where's my money?
What money?
My money, man. You play pussy, you're gonna get fucked. Where's my money?
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
But I mean, all that research paid off, and Brian De Palma let me bring all my friends in the club scene. Those are all my friends and my ex-wife. And so that made it real. I felt really comfortable at home, and I improvised all that dialogue with Pacino. De Palma taught me how to act on film. On this flick, he like let me do. I did like 30 takes of my entrance on film, which is unheard of. When you did independent film back then, you had to beg for another take, and you had to have a good reason because it was too expensive. And he did 30 takes on my entrance, and I would do crazier things, and he'd laugh. I'd knock people's trays down. I'd throw my cigarette at people, and he loved it.
Hey, Mr. Brigante, it's the second time you turned me down for a drink, man. Well, you don't like my champagne?
Hey, could be.
don't know. Maybe it's a misfucking understanding here. I don't know, man. Maybe you don't remember me. My name is Benny.
Maybe I don't give a shit. Maybe I don't remember the last time I blew my nose either. Who the fuck are you? I should remember you. What, you think you like me? You ain't like me, motherfucker.
There was a lot of stuff going on that set. I think they started to believe that it was the 70s. And so they started living that way. Let me see, what can I talk about? There's a couple of things I can't talk about because, yeah, I can't talk about that. No, but let me see. No, I guess I can't talk about a lot of stuff.
What did you learn working with Portillo?
Yeah, let's stay there. He is the most present person I've ever worked with in my life. Like, some actors, you know, come a little prepared. They worked on it a little bit in the mirror and they fall in love with like the way they did it. He's not like that. He's just right there listening. Nobody listens like him. I saw how incredible and relaxed he was. I've never seen anybody be like that. Ice Age.
They left without me. They do this every year. Why? Doesn't anyone love me? Isn't there anyone who cares about Sid the Sloth? All right, I'll just go by myself.
You know, it started out as a drama, and I was the only funny character, and it started out with different actors, Ben Stiller, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and then because they wanted to make it funnier, then they got, you know, Ray Romano and Dennis Leary, and then they made the whole thing funny. It took 5 years to get from point A to point B, and then, you know, the rest is history.
Now to find a meal befitting a conquering hero. What ho? A foe? Come on, you want a piece of me? Yeah! Spoils, worthy of such a noble...
I studied with Lee Strasberg. My acting killed him. I was at Strasberg Institute. I did the sense memory thing. He was going, that's terrible, that's awful. And he died that night. But I took a lot from the method, you know, and I used it for the rest of my life. And so, you know, I did as much research as I could because the director, Chris Wedge, he wanted me to play myself. I go, I don't want to play myself. I want to create a character that and a voice that comes out of that drawing that they showed me. So I did a ton of voices from like on a tape back then, like 50 voices. Like I did Southern voice just in case they wanted to be kind of slow because he's a slow. So I was going to do that. But he didn't like that. So I said, what about if he's street, yo? What if he's dead street, you know, gangster, whatnot? Come on. He didn't like that either. So then I did, what if it was a Southeast Asian accent? It was something really cute like that, perhaps. No. So I said, all right, so send me Discovery Channel footage. So I saw it and they said that, you know, the sloth holds its food inside its mouth. So I put a sandwich in my mouth and I'm walking around trying to, how am I going to come up with this character? And I was like, oh my God, this is the voice. So I called Chris Wedge. I go, Chris, guess who this is? He goes, I don't know. It's Sid the Sloth. I found myself. That's how we got the voice.
I told you, Sid, you're not qualified to run a camp.
Oh, since when do qualifications have anything to do with childcare? Besides, these kids look up to me. I'm a role model to them.
I can see that.
You know, obviously I love this franchise. I love that character. He's so lovable. I think you have to be doing what the animated character is doing for the voice to have that reality and vitality. Otherwise, it sounds like you're acting. So like if I'm like falling, I'll like hit myself, or if I'm being choked, I'll choke myself. And if I'm running out of breath, I'll run as fast as I can for a little bit. You can't do a lot of sound sometimes because you wreck the recording if you hit something like that. So I'll do it like before the take or after. If I'm drinking water, I'll drink some water. If I'm eating, I'll get some. Yeah. To Wong Food. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Fine. How are we gonna know where we're going, okay?
Instincts, my dear. And exquisite wit. Darling, if you're going to become a drag queen, you're going to have to learn these things.
What do you mean, be a drag queen? I am a drag queen.
Oh, child, no. You will simply put a boy in a dress.
I felt like because we were 3 straight actors that we had to really bring a lot of integrity to these roles and to the storytelling. We needed to represent correctly. And we were all of us were in, you know? And we went to all the Escuelita was this huge 42nd Street drag ball, Latin and Black. And then we went to Sally's, and Sally's 1 and 2, all the famous drag bars of the era. We had drag queens that were assigned to us to help us. So I had Larissa Dumont, this Puerto Rican drag queen from the South Bronx, and would work with me and teach me how to walk, teach me how to use my hands. And then I went vegetarian, vegan for 6 months before we shot, so I would lose all my muscle. So I become like veal, tender and smooth. And then because in my family, we have some dark-skinned people, and there's so much self-hate and racism in Latin America. A lot of my aunts have like brown skin, but they'll put on lighter shade makeup, and the necks will be like 4 shades darker than their faces. And I always noticed that it was so odd to me. So, it was so apparent of, the inbred colonial sort of hate, self-hate. So I did that for Chi-Chi. I made her face a little lighter than her neck. And then at the end, she loves her, her browner skin. I gotta say that Chi-Chi Rodriguez became an iconic character for LGBTQ plus and trans kids. I go everywhere and these kids come up to me and goes, because of this character in this movie, I had the confidence to come out to my parents. So I felt very honored that I was able to afford some people some comfort and some self-confidence. I feel like that's when you do good work, that's what you wanted to do. That's what you hope for, that it has an effect on people and it helps them through hard times or gives them a confidence to be who they are. I love that. Romeo plus Juliet. It was between me and Benicio del Toro, and Baz was like, John, he mumbles and you don't. That's why you got the part. That was the only reason, because, Benicio is the bomb. And then we had 2-week rehearsal that was intense, man. It was so intense, but it was worth it. It was so, we all became a crew. We were really for each other. I mean, Leo was amazing, man. A lot of actors they get a little privilegey and they don't show up really for your off camera, or just read it. He would give the same performance that he just gave in front of the camera, he would give for you behind the camera. That's how generous an actor he is.
And so good Capulet, whose name I tender as dearly as mine own. Be satisfied. Be satisfied.
Well, it's the same language. I mean, Baz used the same language. The only thing he did was trim it a little bit down, which they've done before with the Zeffirelli version. It's the exact same language, except put in a modern setting, and we shot in Mexico. It's like he made it sort of like street gangs, like semi-futuristic, not too far in the future kind of street gangs. And it's the Capulets were like a Latin family, sort of. My crew's all Latin, but our parents are all Italian people playing Latin people, as Hollywood does. But they were great. I mean, Paul Sorvino and Diane Venora, fantastic. I mean, they're brilliant. I mean, she's the best Lady Capulet I've ever seen, because you never remember that character. It's always like a blur, but she made it stand out. That's how brilliant she is. Moulin Rouge.
How do you do? My name is Henri-Marie Raymond Toulouse-Lautrec Montparnasse.
Moulin Rouge was even more difficult. Baz called me up. He said, I want you to be this sleeping Argentinian. And I was like, sleeping? He called it a narcoleptic Argentinian. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a role. What if I gotta be like this through the whole entire movie? It didn't sound like it was gonna be good. So I was like, I want to be Toulouse-Lautrec. He goes, but I already got Rowan Atkinson. I go, let me do. So I went to Chateau Marmont, auditioned for 4 hours on my knees. Now with the lisp, John, so I would talk like this with the lisp. And then now with the British accents, I did it with the British accent for the longest time. And I got the part.
How wonderful I feel. Now you're in the
Oh my God, it was a month, 4 weeks rehearsal. We had dialect coaches, we had dance coaches, we had movement coaches, we had everything kind of coaches. I read all the biographies, I looked at all the photographs, and Baz let me write. There's a scene between me and Ewan McGregor that I took from Toulouse's letters, and I created this scene in Baz. That's how collaborative Baz is. Spawn.
I hate him more. I hate those old rotten old chuckles with their freaking dumb noses and their lousy party hats. I don't mind being short, fat, and ugly, but the pay sucks.
The comic book industry was failing in the 80s. Todd McFarlane created Venom, and then he created Spawn. And he brought darkness, edginess, death, vulgarity. Nobody was doing that. And we revolutionized the whole comic book industry. It was a big deal. It was the first black superhero, so everybody was excited by it.
Funny's funny, he's our man. If you can't kill him, no one can. Yeah, he's funny. S to the B to the A to the 1. S to the B to the A to the 1. Goes funny, goes funny.
Well, the first day was 8 hours, but they got it down to 4 hours. So I would get up at 3 a.m., start makeup at 4 a.m., be done by 8 a.m., and then go on set. And it took like about an hour and a half to take the makeup off. But it was old school, too. It was old school techniques. There was no coolant coming through. I was I would drip, soaking wet. You could wring the costume out. So I had to constantly remind myself to hydrate. And the breaks, you know, the whole thing was glued to my face, so I couldn't take it off for lunch. And I had these big teeth, giant eye contacts. It would make you lose your mind sometimes. But it was worthwhile. It was because I was so miserable that it added to the character's edginess. And Mark DePay, the director, was so fun to work with, so loose, so chill. He let me ad-lib all this madness. And the edgier ad-libs are in the director's cut. Summer of Sam.
Police said that the handwritten letter addressed to Mr. President contained numerous occult symbols, was signed by the madman himself, calling himself the Son of Sam.
Son? My favorite movie of all. Summer of Sam's my favorite. The best of my work. You know, Spike is an actor's director, you know, and he really knows how to create the proper environment. And I borrowed a lot from him. When I directed my films, I remember exactly what he said, you know, so he made us hang out and he told us, you got to spend time together to create this bond. It's not going to happen if you just show up on set. So we all started having lunches together, breakfast, and then we did a week's rehearsal. And then we continued that on the set. You know, it was amazing. Adrien Brody had just come from Thin Red Line, where he was the lead. And as they were shooting, he had given all his lines and role to Jim Caviezel. So by the end of the shoot, Adrien was an extra in the movie he just shot. So he came with that edginess to the set, but he was so brilliant. I think he's the best thing in the whole movie.
And if you walk out that door, I'm gonna fucking jump out that window and kill myself. Cause I ain't got nothing, man. Everything my fucking life, and I ain't got shit, I ain't got friends, I ain't got nothing, baby. I suck at everything I do. You're the only fucking thing I have, and I can't live without you.
Oh my God, I punched the glass, I cut myself. She was really weeping and crying, and Spike creates this safe environment, and he loves like raw acting. He wants you to go as raw as you can. And he would like pump his fist when I was killing it behind the camera, so I would go even harder at it. And we went to Cannes with it, so that was really exciting for me. It was the first time I'd ever been to Cannes. John Wick. The owner of the car, did you kill him or what?
No. He sure as hell fucked up his dog.
You fucked up his dog. That's what you did. You fucked up his dog. Yeah. That's crazy shit, man. Oh, look at you. Aurelio runs a car chop shop, you know, where you break up cars and you put them together, and I'm an expert engine maker. That's what John Wick gets. It's so interesting because when I got the John Wick script, it was okay. It wasn't like, wow, I can't wait to do this. It was like, it's interesting. You know, you didn't know what it was going to be. And then I go to the premiere and I was like, what? It was so visceral. You didn't see it on the page. So David Leitch did an amazing job. I mean, David Leitch and Chad were Keanu's stunt coordinators for all the Matrix, 300. They did a lot of stuff with him. So he trusted them, and he gave them that opportunity to jump from being stunt coordinators to being directors. And then Alfie Allen plays a little Russian punk that I get to knock out. It was so much fun to do that flick. You're gonna come into my shop and you're gonna pull a gun on me. That's great, man. Come on. Now you kill me right now, or you get the fuck out of my shop. That was a blast. I had so much fun. I love knocking people out. Better than being knocked out. The power.
No, shit! The fuck? Oh, shit, honey. You okay?
I'm okay.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. Like a static shock or something.
The Power is this beloved novel by Naomi Alderman. It's kind of like sci-fi, but much more realistic, much more organic and believable. Like you can't jump the shark. You can't go, it doesn't go into magic. And it's young women when they reach adolescence because of evolution and because of the need to protect themselves in the world, grow a new organ. And the organ, like the brain, like the eye, gives off an electrical charge. But if they can focus and learn how to use it, it can make it like a nuclear blast. So now they have this whole power and the world doesn't know what to do with them. They don't know how to use it. Things start to go awry. Things start to go crazy in the world. But then the women start spreading it and they start spreading it to the older women and all the women get it and non-binary people get it.
And then, you know what he said to me?
No, what?
He told me to not get my panties in a bunch.
Whoa, yo. I don't like him talking about my wife's panties like that.
You want to kick his ass?
Wait, you didn't?
Well, I wish I could have taken him.
Oh, I know you could.
My character, Rob, I'm a scientist, but I'm also the man behind the powerful woman. You know, I'm kind of a stay-at-home dad, Mr. Mom. Even though I'm a scientist, she has the career, the bigger career, and I have to take a backseat. So it's like reversal of roles. The producers were all women. The directors were all women. The writers were all women. The leads were all women. It was an amazing time. I felt very nurtured and I felt very comfortable and safe. It was great.